Welcome all, Mini-Brads here. In this video today, I'm going to cover the Bungie announcement of the Season 15 Champion mods, specifically the auto rifle and them being the only anti-barrier weapon for the coming Season 15. First impressions from this announcement is we used to love scout rifles in Season 14. We love the range of it, and especially for GM and raid content, staying out of the fight. This season in mind, we're going to be a lot closer quarters using auto rifles because, well, they lack the range of our scout rifles. For next season's options, I'm going to cover, well, every auto rifle available in the game at the moment, and I will display the perk options for each one of them in the screen when we are discussing it. Looking mainly at the perks, and we'll mention the ranges of these weapons, but obviously there are favourites and stability and the handling does come into effect, but primarily the perks available on these weapons. So, looking at primary auto rifles we have available this season, the first one that comes to mind is the 7th Seraph Carbine auto rifle. Now, this gun, as you can see by the perk pool, rolls with two lovely perks to start with: 4 times the charm and Vorpal weapon. That would be the role I would go for myself. It does also come with auto loading holster and rangefinder, which will both happily work in GM content, but Vorpal I would say would be the best perk for that last column, because you can get that increased damage consistently without requiring a kill. The bonus of 7th Seraph auto rifle obviously is it's a Seraph weapon, so it creates Warmind cells, which any gun with Warmind cells is better than a gun with no Warmind cells, so that is gun number 1. The next gun, which isn't as easy to come by, but it has been re-released recently, is the Tiger Spite weapon. So Tiger Spite rolls with Frenzy, Persistence, Overflow, Surplus, Mulligan, and Rangefinder. So for GM content, again, that Frenzy buff giving you the constant damage bonus, Mulligan with you missing your shots, or Overflow increasing that magazine size, are both fantastic perks, I'd say. The only issue is acquiring this weapon. It is going to see Petra quite a lot, but it's possible to get it if you've got this roll already. Fantastic, but it might be a possible alternative. 3 other guns, which are very common at the moment, don't have the best kind of perks for GM content. One is the Forward Path, which does roll with 4 times the charm, but unfortunately the majority of the perks in the final column require a kill or only boost stability and handling of the weapon. This is obviously easy to come across, and it's a very well drop, and you will probably have quite a lot of these. Another one is this season's weapon, the Chroma Rush auto rifle. Chroma Rush unfortunately requires kills for every final perk bar tap trigger, which fantastic for generic gameplay, but for high-end GM content you're going to have to kill something to proc any of those perks. If it had Vorpal weapon or high impact reserves, this gun would be a lot better. It's a fantastic gun. I really enjoy mine. I believe I'm running Persistence Rampage on mine for the majority of the game at the moment, but for GM content I will have to switch to a different auto rifle. The last auto rifle, which is also very common to drop, is the False Promises. False Promises is slightly better than the 2. It does roll with Overflow, Persistence, Dynamic Sway, and it does come with Surrounded, which may be the only perk which can boost the damage of this weapon without needing a kill. And in GM content you might come across being surrounded by 3 enemies quite often. There are 2 other guns I would like to mention, and they are ones which will be coming back out in the season during the Halloween event, and they are the Horror Story and the Braytech Werewolf. Now the Horror Story has possibly the worst set of perk pools I've ever seen in my entire life. Nothing in there is going to help you deal more damage to champions or ants in general. It does come with Osmosis if you are struggling with making sure you've got all the energy types, which could be useful, but I'd say it's very, very unlikely for this season. Braytech Werewolf, unfortunately, is the much better of the two, which now rolls with 4th times charm and Vorpal Weapon. If you were lucky to have this roll already, well, good on you. And I'm hoping I could probably pull one of those out of the bag this season in the Halloween event for myself. The reason I'm going to just cover these very quickly is the ranges. Obviously, they're all different RPMs, with obviously False Promises being a 360 RPM up to the Chrome Rush being a 720. The ranges are massively different. The Braytech Werewolf range is 72 compared to the 7 Seraph of 62. They're both the same RPM, they both have very similar stability. It's just that Braytech Werewolf has much better range compared to other 450s in its class. So it could possibly be the best Auto Rifle we have in our primary slot, bar not creating All Might Cells. So, with the primary auto rifles covered, next step, the energy auto rifles, starting with Arctic Haze. So, Arctic Haze, the auto rifle from Europa, the Beyond Light campaign, rolls with Triple Tap and Vorpal Weapon. So, great perks, what you really want on that gun. Does also come with Genesis and Mulligan, which could be interesting combos. Genesis reloading the gun whenever you deal damage to solar shields, which I don't really use Genesis much, but it could become very useful. After Arctic Haze, we've got another solo auto rifle. Unfortunately, this one's not as easy to farm, and this is the Summoner from Trials. The Summoner rolls are not very good. We have Overflow, but then the final column, Elemental Capacitor or maybe Rangefinder would be the possible goes-tos, with Celerity, Rampage and Dragonfly all needing kills or doing very little to boost your gun. The Rangefinder might be nice to give you that extra range on this 450 auto rifle. Sorry, 600 auto rifle. But for me, solo-wise, I'd be going with my Arctic Haze. Looking at Void, and I know what everyone's going to say straight away, Gnawing Hunger. Yes, Gnawing Hunger. Unfortunately for Gnawing Hunger, every single perk in that final column requires you to kill something with it. There's no perks which make it any better for that final column. So you may as well go with Rampage or Swashbuckler. It's probably Swashbuckler in case you do get a melee kill. At least you're getting some damage bonus. Does come with auto-loading holster, which could be useful for emptying a magazine to break a champion's shield, flick into a different weapon, and the gun being reloaded for you next time that shield pops up. A different Void weapon, auto rifle, from the Last Wish raid is Age-Old Bond. Now, this rolls with Triple Tap, High Impact Reserves, and has remarkable range at a range of 84, typically. It's a 360 RPM auto rifle, and if I have this roll, I will be using it. I will probably be trying it over Gnawing Hunger because it should have the range, and it's always been pretty decent in the past when I've used it. But there's the trade-off at the moment. You've got Gnawing Hunger and you've got your Age-Old Bond for your Void auto rifles. Going on to the Arc. Obviously, the most well-known and probably the most common, what most people are going to use, is Shadow Price and the Adept Shadow Price. This is the only auto rifle that I found so far which rolls with Disruption Break to start with. Now this is key for barrier champions because Disruption Break works on breaking their barrier and it will make them weaker to kinetic damage. So if you're using a primary sniper or primary shotgun, you're going to deal a hell of a lot more damage to those enemies. Also comes with One for All, 4th times charm, and Overflow, even Bottomless Grief for that solo content where you may be the only member of your fire team left alive. So it's a very, very good perk pool, and obviously you can put adept mods. If you don't happen to have a Shadow Price because you didn't play those seasons, there's the auto rifle from this season called the Number. Not a bad gun, does roll with high impact reserves and 1 for all, but in that third column, apart from maybe threat detector and under pressure and surplus, you're not going to get massive amounts of use out of any of those perks, but it's still a viable option. The last auto rifle, legendary auto rifle, and one more arc is Arc Logic from the Moon, recently released. So, rolls with Frenzy in the final column. Great little perk. That constant 15% damage, as long as you're either dealing or receiving some kind of damage or suppressive fire. And in the third column, you do have something like Surplus. You also have Slideways, which for something like Frenzy, where you've got constant damage, you don't have to be shooting anyone, you've got that damage bonus, you can simply slide around the map, reloading this gun, and maintaining damage and shooting suppression on an enemy. So Slideways with Frenzy could be a very good option instead of Surplus and Frenzy. But it will be interesting to see in the next season how good this all comes out, and especially we've got another Bungie conversation coming about weaponry. Now, that's all the legendary auto rifles done. I will cover the exotics, but I don't know how useful these exotics will be. You've got exotics like Sweet Business on a Titan with active war rig. That could be a lot of fun. I don't know how useful it will be, but it could be a lot of fun. That maintaining constant DPS, and I'd love to see what a champion barrier could try and do. Other auto rifles, you've got the Suros Regime, where you could use the bonus damage and bullet speed in the second half of the magazine, or you've got Cerberus, which is a very close range auto rifle but deals a lot of damage. Not entirely sure how viable those will be. We've also got Monte Carlo, which could be an interesting build to use with Freezing Warlocks to get that freeze melee back so often, which could be an interesting build for this coming season. Obviously, in the energy slots, you've got a very well-known Hard Light. Could be very, very useful with the ability to switch between energy types. And that's the only... Well, you got Tommy's Matchbook as well, but Tommy's Matchbook, I think you don't want to deal damage to yourself in a GM or high tier contact events, so I'm going to say no to Tommy's Matchbook. And unfortunately, obviously, there's no auto rifle prime heavies yet. Pity there's no anti-barrier machine gun. That would have been quite fun to run Xenophage, but at the moment, I'm going to be saying Monte Carlo and Sweet Business could be the two exotics I will be trying out with this anti-barrier mod. The rest of them I will probably be sticking to legendaries. My Shadow Price and my Arctic Haze will probably be the top two picks I go for. I will be doing some more videos soon about the Unstoppable Pulses, Overload Bows and Swords. So check those out if you've enjoyed this video, and I will catch you all soon. Cheers, bye bye.